Ajeet Singh. Before founding ThoughtSpot, you might have heard of him. He was a chief product officer at Nutanix, and they had one of the biggest IPOs in 2016. And prior to Nutanix, he was at another company called Aster Data that got acquired, I know, a while ago by Teradata. And then before that, he got his start at Oracle. So if the slides are ready, we'll get Ajeet up here. The slides are ready. Yeah.
Thank you for the introduction. Just for the record, I should say that I don't believe in unicorns. They are mythical creatures. But I have been part of building 2 meaningful companies. And today, I want to talk about how design thinking, a singular focus on customer experience, made that possible. So I want to start by talking about how to design an aircraft engine. I'm just joking. We are not going to do that today. You might wonder why I have that picture up there, and what does that have to do with design or unicorns? Let me explain. Both of my companies, Nutanix and ThoughtSpot, were started in Silicon Valley. But I learned how to build a business from scratch and design right here in Bangalore. 15 years ago, I used to work at Honeywell, and I had the opportunity to work with a very forward-thinking head of product who wanted to build the next generation software for aircraft maintenance, for remote monitoring of health of aircraft engines. And he hired me. He said, I'll give you 2 engineers. You will have to build a prototype. Once you build the prototype, we will take it to the CEO of Honeywell. And if it gets funded, then you will have the opportunity to build the team and the product. So we built a prototype over 6 months. And then we got funding from the CEO. And then we hired IDEO, the design firm, to help us with design of the software. And that experience was amazing. I saw firsthand how with design thinking, you could build software in a totally different way. IDEO helped us remove all the clutter and narrow down the problem of health monitoring of engines to 3 simple questions. What's wrong? How bad is it? And how should I fix it? And this was way before Steve Jobs had shown the power of design through iPhone and iPad made known to the world. I was very fortunate to be exposed to design thinking very early in my career, and that has stayed with me since then. Design has been a cornerstone for both of my startups. Nutanix, we were very focused on simplifying the data center. The first thing we wanted to do was to converge storage and compute so that you could remove the clutter of storage from data centers. Over time, the company has gone on to become a single-click cloud software company, and that focus on design has continued to be a core value for Nutanix. Then I started ThoughtSpot with a few co-founders from Google in 2012. And the inspiration for ThoughtSpot came from the time I had spent at Aster Data Systems. Aster Data was one of the early big data companies. And what I saw with big data platforms, you could store lots and lots of data in a cheaper, faster, better manner. But how data was consumed by the business users, by the people that needed to actually use data to make decisions, that was extremely complex. So me and my co-founder, Amit Prakash, who was at Google at the time, we started thinking, why can't consumption of data be as easy as using Google? If I can use Google in my personal life so easily to find coffee or books or whatever, why do I have to wait for a week for a data analyst to build a report or a dashboard or visualizations for me? That's when we started building a new kind of search engine that on the surface looks like any other search engine, but under the hood, it's a massive number crunching machine. And if I look at what has happened since my days at Honeywell in the world, trillions of dollars of market cap has been created by companies on the left, and trillions of dollars of market cap has been destroyed on the right. If you really look at it, what separates these two groups of companies fundamentally is user experience. The companies on the left upended massive incumbents by creating a completely new kind of user experience. So what does all this mean in this new era of AI and machine learning that we are all very excited about? AI has really captured our imagination, all the way from self-driving cars to various kinds of business applications. AI seemed to be a panacea for all kinds of problems. But end of the day, AI or any technology doesn't really matter. What matters is adoption of technology. How do we build AI-based product that can be used by millions and millions of people? How do we drive adoption of technology? For that, let's look at adoption itself, how the concept of adoption has evolved in the technology space. For those of you that might have used internet 20 years ago, you would remember using a dial-up to get access to the web and how painful it was. But we still used it because we had absolutely no choice. When users don't have a choice, features define the adoption. If there are features, they will have to use it. Then with iPad and iPhone, mobile apps were born, and ease of use became the thing that defined adoption. If your app was not easy enough, users had a lot of choice, they would switch to something else. With AI, the kind of technology we are building is very different. The expectation is that the software will start to behave more and more like human beings. And we know in personal life, we make friends with human beings when we trust them. And it's that factor of trust that is going to be the key determining factor for AI-based products for their adoption. There's all this talk about eventually machines will overtake the world and AI will be so powerful. I personally do not subscribe to that dystopian view of the future. I believe that for adoption to occur, there has to be a virtuous cycle of trust that needs to be established between humans and technology, and only those kinds of technologies that humans trust will survive and thrive. So how do you design AI products for trust? That becomes an extremely, extremely important question. And I don't have a silver bullet to offer, but I want to share a simple framework that has worked well for us. I like to call it the STAR framework: security, transparency, accuracy, and relevance. Let's start with security. So we know why AI is suddenly a big opportunity. It is not because some new kinds of fundamental algorithms have been discovered. AI algorithms have been known in academia for a very long time. AI is a big opportunity because two other things have happened. One, there is a lot of compute power that you can use to run those algorithms, and there is a lot of data being generated today that you can feed to these algorithms. Without data, AI is absolutely useless. But when you use data, security becomes extremely important. Depending on the kind of data you are talking about, people are going to be very sensitive to how their data is being used and being kept in a very secure manner. Second is transparency. AI sometimes can look like a black box, can look like magic, but magic is good for entertainment. People are not going to bet their life on something that looks like magic. Again, depending on the kind of application, transparency becomes very important. If we are talking about using AI to make healthcare decisions, to make payroll decisions, people would want to know how the data is being used and how the system is making the recommendations that it is making. Now, it's not always possible to make the logic visible to the end user, but in that case, you have to engage with the experts that the user community trusts. The third key factor is accuracy. Again, depending on the application, if you're, for example, trying to use AI to find picture of a dog among many pictures, maybe 80% accuracy is okay. But if you are trying to apply AI for processing payroll applications or healthcare, you have to be accurate because people's lives starts to depend on it. Last but not the least, relevance, extremely important factor. People want information and insights and suggestions that are relevant to them right here, right now. With AI, there is opportunities to build all kinds of applications, personal finance applications, healthcare applications, but the recommendations of these AI systems, the smart systems, have to be really relevant to people. People are expecting highly customized services that make sense for them, and if you can build applications that are relevant, you will see great adoption of technology. So next, I want to spend some time just using ThoughtSpot as a case study, how we have used this STAR framework at ThoughtSpot. Think of ThoughtSpot as a search and AI-driven analytics platform for the enterprises. Think of ThoughtSpot as Google for numbers. It's a search engine that you can expose to anyone in an enterprise to analyze data. So you don't have to depend on a data analyst to use a traditional data visualization tool, and they come back with a visualization in a week, and then you have to make a change. You again wait for another week. Now, imagine the system is going to come back and show you the sales for whatever question you have asked. It's highly interactive, and it looks like magic. But like I said, you want to be transparent. So you can click on the information icon. It can tell you how the results were computed. In fact, you can go down to the level of detail and see how various tables from different data sources were combined to compute these results on the fly. This is an extremely important aspect of our product that has enabled some of the largest enterprises to deploy the product at very, very large scale. If we didn't tell them how the system was working, they would not trust the results because they're making extremely important decisions using our technology. Next, now suppose you want to understand hidden insights in data where you don't even know the questions you should be asking. We have an AI engine called Spot IQ where you type your question and it offers you additional insights. And if you want to dig really deep, you just go to the system and say auto-analyze. Now the system might be doing thousands of analyses all on the fly because there is a very powerful backend behind the scenes, and it presents the insights that it has found that are relevant to the user in an AI-created dashboard. So here it's telling us that for a particular brand of Nike products, a particular store has significantly high sales compared to all other stores. You might want to dig deeper and understand what is special about that store, or maybe you need to make sure that you have enough supply of products near that store. It is showing you various trends, outliers. Here, it's showing us that sales for a particular jacket brand have significantly been trending up. So this is a dashboard that is created by AI technology on the fly for the user, but you can also dig deeper and understand see for yourself all the analyses that were done to make sure that you have trust in the system, and you can continue to dig deeper like before and go down to the level of tables and joins, and we provide full visibility on how the system is operating. It's a very simple looking interface. It's doing a lot of complex things that are hidden under the hood, but we provide a way for people to open the hood and understand how the system is working. So whatever problem you're trying to solve with AI, it could be in retail, it could be in healthcare, financial services, or whatever your domain of interest is, always, I would highly recommend that you think about adoption, think about security, transparency, accuracy, and reliability. Think about creating that virtuous cycle of trust between humans, your users, and the machine, and you should do very well. Good luck, and thank you.
Great job, Ajeet. A quick, couple of questions for Ajeet? He's got an incredible company, please. If you can, there's a mic coming up. Sorry.
The demo which you showed, do you have a list of storage backends technologies which will support? Or is it proprietary for you? I mean, if I have to deploy that in an enterprise, how do I configure that for the storage which I already have?
Yeah, the backend is compliant with all the enterprise standards. We can connect to any data source. It could be a data lake, it could be a data warehouse. You could have SaaS applications, even spreadsheets. So we can connect to all kinds of data sources, cache the data, and provide you the user experience that I just showed you.
Any other questions? Oh, there's one back there. There.
So have you, creating this product, have you take help of any experienced design company, or you have in-house experienced design developers or something?
Yeah, I spent a lot of time recruiting our first designer, and we have a great design team now. We have always treated design as a core competency, and we do all the design user experience work internally. I spent almost 5-6 months finding great designers globally, and I eventually found a really amazing designer in Switzerland. That was back in 2012, and we moved him over to Silicon Valley to work with us for that. And since then, our design team has grown. Now we have designers in Palo Alto, Seattle, as well as India.
One last question here.
Hi, thank you for this wonderful talk. I wanted to ask, is there a framework by which you decide what company to build? Like, you probably have multiple ideas and many problem statements. How do you pick the one that you should go after?
Do I have 20 more minutes to answer that question? The framework that I like to use personally is a risk management framework. I look at risks in a startup in 2 big buckets: execution risk and market risk. Market risk being, is there a market for my product? How big is the market? Do I know if there is a market? Execution risk being, can I go build a product that can disrupt that market and sell it? And you can go either way. There is, if you look at consumer startups, typically they are trying to, in the early phase, trying to minimize the market risk. They're iterating continuously and making sure that market risk is not there and you have a market for the product. In enterprise, it's more execution risk heavy. Personally, I enjoy going after opportunities that are very low in market risk and very high in execution risk, because market risk is not something I can control. Execution risk, one can control. It's easier said than done, but you have to be really, really good at recruiting great people and building a great culture so you can have an amazing team that can do all the execution.
Thank you so much. That was brilliant.
Thank you so much, Ajeet.
Thank you.
Here's a little gift for you.
Thank you so much.